So I'm sitting at this coffee shop, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. And normally people recognize you guys. Like nobody really recognizes me. I'm not, the face and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of in the background. I do this. And this is the most fun thing that I get to do. But I'm sitting there at the coffee shop. This guy comes up in Boise, Idaho. And he goes, "Are you Sam Carlson?" I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh, I know you're from Adventures in Syria." I'm like, "This is crazy." So I'm sitting here talking with this guy, and our conversation got really deep, really fast. And the number one thing that people are talking about is artificial intelligence. But the sentiment, that to me was kind of I feel like it's the undertone. I feel like it's a thing that people are saying in these small groups, but nobody's really kind of talking about it openly, which is, what is AI going to do? What do you think is going to happen with AI and commercial real estate, business at large, but specifically, what is it going to do in commercial real estate? And he and I talked for, 45 minutes and kind of went all over the board. He told me some of the things that they were doing with AI, which was incredible. But I think that, again, the underlying tone is, what is going to happen with artificial intelligence when it starts getting adopted or not getting adopted by commercial real estate professionals? It's pretty cool. Everybody's thinking about it, but what should they be thinking?
Yeah, well, let me bring to this episode a thesis statement. Okay, and we can bat it around. What I love about this topic is nothing is baked, and so we can raise a thesis statement. Some will agree, some will disagree. The thesis is this: there is a growing divide in our industry and others between firms and individuals who believe that this is a seismic change in everything. I mean everything. Versus those who view this as a fad. And not that everything will go back to the way it was before, but that this will largely run its course, and the impact on their firm or them as individuals are fairly minimal. And so, but the thesis is there's a growing divide that's occurring, and that one of those is, well, the thesis is those who say that this is a fad are going to lose. Okay, I guess that would be the statement that's worth debating. Now, what does lose mean? And where I go is to the story of Kodak. Okay, so if the AI optimists or the AI bulls, I guess would be the right term, if the AI bulls are correct, then we are running into a Kodak story at scale, where those firms or those individuals who don't adopt, who care more about like protecting the status quo. It's like, I'm really good at this thing, or I'm most comfortable with the way that I operate currently. The edge that I've built is sufficiently strong.
Yeah, AI can't replace me.
That it can't replace me.
Yeah.
And if you know the story of Kodak, right? In the mid-'70s, an engineer at Kodak developed the digital camera. And it was brought to the senior team, and the senior team, in the interest of protecting what they viewed as their golden goose, film, squashed the idea. And the 90s and the 2000s hit, and digital cameras became ubiquitous, and 2012, Kodak goes bankrupt. Right? And so in the interest of protecting the status quo, in the interest of protecting what they viewed as the most important aspect, they essentially put themselves on a path to ruin. And yeah, it took several decades because they were a behemoth. I mean, they were it in film. And so you look at real estate companies and real estate professionals today, who are the Kodaks? And this is a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Who's at risk of, without answering, but who is at risk of being the Kodaks?
That's right.
Yeah.
So the first question is, Michael, is the thesis.
Yeah.
Do you disagree with the thesis? And if you agree with the thesis, what is the characteristic of a modern day Kodak?
I don't necessarily agree with the thesis, and here's why.
Okay.
Interesting.
Kodak and what came of Kodak was because of this big idea that was, digital photography compared to film. That wasn't permeating into the masses. It was people had control of this technology and they could disseminate it. With AI, it's been immediately accessible by people all over the org chart, right? So while there will be people, now we're talking about job functions and things like that, and then we're talking about mass implementation at the corporate level. I'm speaking currently about job functionality, whether it's commercial real estate, whether it's investment banking, whether it's anything else. You have people in positions who might hold this opinion that AI is a fad, and I've seen it play out personally where everybody who thought that, the second they were forced to be exposed to it, they were able to access it, and they immediately flipped. And like, oh, well, how do I use this? And it started being clunky, and then they got better at it. So at the job level, I think it's a function of forced adaptation because it's immediately on display for everyone to see. Some people will be begrudging about it, like, oh, I have to learn this new thing. But ultimately, everybody's going to want to be preserving their job. So if you come into the office and you're seeing somebody start to learn this, you're going to get that. You're going to see it, right? It's not Kodak versus the other photography companies out there, right? There that are creating, digital photography. This is like, oh my God, my job here and is at risk. Yeah. I need to adapt. So on that scale, I think there's going to be mass forced adaptation, at least in terms of implementing it. Some people will be better at implementing it than others, and other people will be more pioneers within their company learning how to actually integrate it. And
I think that so the Kodak one is like a traditional example.
Yeah.
I think the one that people might be thinking about that came on with a big roar and then it kind of fizzled is like crypto. Like crypto felt like everybody's doing crypto, everybody's doing this, and then it kind of faded, and now it's finding relevance again because governments are accepting it, all these kind of things, but it doesn't feel as pervasive. Like you cannot do crypto and be just fine.
Mm-hmm. Or put another way, the hype around crypto didn't play out.
Exactly.
Like I was hearing, we were all going to be using digital currency within a decade.
Yeah. Well, and what's the trigger? What does human psychology do? Why did the executives at Kodak have a closed perspective on it?
Yeah, I mean that's what we call
the survival mechanism.
Yeah, I mean that's like the innovator's dilemma, right? I mean that's where like, do we preserve our base? Do we have this set structure? How do we innovate, right? Or do we innovate at all? And like, does this innovation destroy our golden goose, right?
So we use Kodak as an example, and therefore we immediately go to, okay, what are the real estate companies that are going to be the Kodaks? But I actually think there are parallels at the individual level. And this is where you and I disagree a bit. Take a property accountant today. Someone who's been doing property accounting for 15, 20 years. They know all the nuance.
Yeah.
And they believe that because they know all the nuance, they are safe. And I mean no disrespect to our property accountant peers out there, but the day is coming where a digital entity will do most or all of our property accounting. Okay. Yeah. So, but you're sitting in a seat and you're like, okay, well, what does that mean for me? And the reflex is, I got 10 years left in my career.
Yeah, right.
I want to fight this to the end, right? And again, so if you are the property accountant and you're hearing this, there's two paths you can take. The first path is you can be part of inventing what a better world for property accountants in our business looks like, or you can throw your hands up in frustration that this is coming. And if you only have 10 years left in your career, maybe you slide your way to the end, or maybe you don't. By the way, Kodak did try to get into the digital camera business. It was too late.
Too late.
I want to go back to say, throw your hands up in frustration.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what behavior is happening. I feel like it's throw your hand. I feel like it's fear. I feel like people are just like scared to try those things, and so they tell themselves, "Oh, I haven't seen anything happening around my immediate circles," but they don't
So
understand what's
therefore-
like baking in back rooms
Yeah.
and what people are planning on doing with it.
Yeah.
You know?
So actually, let me describe, because I've seen this.
Okay.
The throwing the hands up in the air, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but what it describes, and every one of us have seen this. Okay, what we do in real estate has sufficient nuance that you can't just quickly bring in any of the off-the-shelf generalist tools and they're going to fully automate it. And so throwing the hands up in the air, to me, is letting the perfect become the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
It's
Love
like,
that,
okay,
yeah.
well, I do this highly nuanced thing, and if there's not an alternative that replaces me, I don't want it. And what if there was something that could reduce the time it took you to reconcile your accounts
Yeah.
from 60 minutes to 45 minutes, and you get a 15-minute time saving, but you're managing hundreds of properties? Like, isn't that worthwhile? But the throw the hands up in the air is kind of like, none of the tools out there really work. Well, I mean,
Yeah, or
they give
use it for like
incremental
a couple of
improvements.
10 minutes,
or that
Yeah.
too.
and then
yeah.
be like, "Oh yeah, this doesn't work."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm describing. It's not I don't want to innovate.
Yeah.
Everyone says that they want to, but at the end of the day, when you're comfortable with the tools and your existing process, change is frustrating. Can be frustrating.
But that's where the unique opportunity lies for, what we're calling the AI natives, right?
Yeah.
Subject matter experts who understand it, where that, we're using the accountant as the example, throws up their hands. Well, if you have somebody that's in that space but is also keeping up with everything going on, like that gives their opportunity for these unique use cases to quote unquote capitalize on, and bring something new to the table.
So let's say there's somebody out there that is like, no, it is just a trend, right? That's their thesis statement. They're thinking, okay, well, it's not going to affect me in my role, whatever that is. It can't replace me. What do you say to that person to say, you might want to be a little bit more open-minded,
Yeah.
and you might want to start tinkering and playing with these things, because there's two sides. There's two potential outcomes. One, it does replace you, and you get caught, flat-footed. Or two, you replace somebody else with it because you were the person saying, you know what? I'm going to lean into this.
Can I say everybody that I have met today, and I would not call I am not on the level of like what Spencer's doing. I am AI proficient. I can use a lot of the tools. I'm not like steeped in it. But I would say that, and I'm very much involved in real estate, and I interact with a lot of people, and everybody, and I have friends and family that I'm bringing into my org. For example, my father, he's, hit his 70s, he's retired, he's a CPA. We have a small operation with the RV app business, and he's like, I'm hanging around. I was like, why don't you come and do the books, right? And and then I have another friend where we were younger, we went out and bought a couple rental properties, and both of these people in my life are sort of the AI fad people, right? I don't think they said it was a fad, but they were like, what do I need that for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with both of them, all it took was a random demonstration. Like, for example, we have this property in Washington State. And so, I had my father came in, took over the books, and, he had never used any generative AI at all. And like, he had all these questions and was like, at first sort of a naysayer. And I said, go ask, Washington State property law, or how you define taxes, or like all these different things. He lives on it now. Like, he's learning how to prompt it better. It's amazing. And same thing with my buddy who runs the property. So everybody that I have seen in my life that's been like oh, this is a fad, or like distrustful or whatever, became an immediate adopter the second they saw how it benefits. And it's so immediately apparent how much it benefits anyone. So I have yet to see if somebody say it was a fad in my life and then hold firm to that. I don't know. Do you have any examples where like there was no conversion? I feel like everybody's.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hang out with the choir though, but
True, fair enough.
Yeah, we're all in echo chambers. We're all using it like crazy.
I will say this: I just came back from a big national conference, and thousands of real estate professionals. This was barely on most people's radar.
Wow.
Which, look, I get it. we're in the business of space use. And so we're out there creating space or leasing space or managing and investing in space. And these sorts of fads, and I don't believe this is a fad, but like these sorts of things, they've come and they've gone, and real estate has been largely constant. We're slow to adapt to technology. And when we do have technology, it's like as soon as we adopt it, it's kind of what everyone uses. Right? You have like the incumbents, and as soon as they take hold, and they're just there. And so I get it. But there's a reason why, and I'm obviously biased because I'm all in, and I'm making significant shifts in my personal career based on a belief that this technology is going to fundamentally change everything. Including real estate, and that's the industry I love most. I do think this thesis is right. There will be a divide. Put another way, there will be winners and there will be losers, right? And I prefer to speak to those who want to be on the winner side of that column, but I empathize with those who very much could be the losers of all of this.
Yeah, and being a loser might mean that it's an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself using like what's new out there. Like you might lose in people, if you're losing a job or whatever, there's this opportunity out there to like reinvent yourself completely and pivot. Like there's just it's just this reinvention of like anything, like the tools you have access to now, like the knowledge base you have access to, you can become an expert in switch. And I'm seeing that happen to folks that I interact with too outside of that. So being able to learn and adapt and evolve with this is critical. Even if you are a loser in your industry, there is an opportunity to
Doesn't it have like a
yourself.
different threat and opportunity to every level of your career? Like if you're a student, it's going to have this opportunity / threat, and analysts and so on and so forth.
Oh, most definitely, right? Like every stakeholder to this conversation, the threat and opportunity is different. But it goes to like Darwin, right?
Yeah.
So everyone says survival of the fittest, but apparently,
That's not right.
yeah, right. It's actually a survival of the most adaptable, or whatever,
Yeah.
And in this context, it really doesn't matter what stakeholder you are to this conversation. The key is to adapt.
You have to adapt.
You have to adapt. Okay, so let's talk to the students just for a second, and then we'll wrap this episode up because I think we've run the course on this thesis. But I'm frustrated with the students that I talk to.
You were telling me about that class that you went to when we're asking people, is that where you're going to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that kind of blew my mind a little.
Yeah. Look, we in industry expect the students to come in and have the greatest understanding and proficiency around the new technology. Okay, and that's always been the case. Right? You expect the young blood to come in with the new ideas, and that's not the case here. This is interestingly enough, this is a trend where I feel like the analysts and associates in organizations are actually the ones who have done the most tinkering. And the students, and I don't know if it's because of what is being taught in the classroom or not being taught in the classroom. I actually had this great conversation with one of the leaders of one of the top master or actually MBA and real estate programs in the country. And we'll bring him on soon. Don't want to name his name without permission, but and he and I were just kind of talking through what needs to change in education. But what's clear to me in that conversation I've had is that the schools are asking this question, but right now they're not providing that foundation. And so it feels like the students, they're not hearing it in the classroom, and therefore they don't feel the urgency that they should feel. And so when I speak to them, there is a general I hate to say it, clueless.
Yeah.
Like they get ChatGPT, right? Because it helps them with assignments or whatever. And maybe they're using Meta's AI on Instagram in order to have conversations with a fun little thing. I mean, there's some, but maybe because AI is not fun right now when you're a student, outside of the classroom, you're seeking fun. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm frustrated with the progress or lack thereof that the students are making in this.
My take from hearing that is that, and we've experienced this. I know it feels archaic to even say it, but with Excel financial modeling, when we were there, it's sort of why a.cre became its thing at the time. And this is what's going on now, it sounds like. Nobody that is, on high teaching down to people understand what they should be teaching. They don't know it yet. And, it reminds me when we got to school and, we heard you need to understand real estate finance. You need to understand Excel. That's your
But we heard it
edge.
from practitioners,
From
not
practitioners.
from.
And I scrambled around the school looking for someone to teach me Excel. And we had very accomplished practitioners in commercial real estate, but none of them had any experience in Excel. And so that made Spencer and I had the paranoia. You saw the opportunity, but we spent weekends trying to, like you said, tinker and figure it out. So when you said that story, it sounds just like they don't know where to go. And therefore there is an opportunity out there for students to lead the charge, and they just might not be there. Maybe in other institutions they could be.
Well, I would argue the biggest opportunity of their life, and they don't realize it because at this stage, it's hard to have that sort of perspective. But having seen now wave after wave in my life of these sort of fundamental changes, nothing compares to this.
So if hiring managers aren't asking about this right now, you think in a year's time, every hiring manager is going to say, tell me what your extent of AI use and knowledge is?
I
For
think
students
that's
coming out of school?
It's absolutely coming. Yeah, that's absolutely coming. We'll talk about it in another episode, but that there is a growing expectation that people and organizations are AI native. It's a growing expectation. And you'd expect the hiring manager then to vet for them.
Yeah, and who are the people? Not only can you use it, not only can you use an LLM, but do you know how to integrate it? Can you help us lead the future of this industry, which AI will change not only ours, but every industry? Are you that person? And so we're at that moment in time.
We have our thesis statement. What's our resolution? What's our summary statement?
Well, why don't you? I'll give the summary statement from the AI bowl. That is it. When you have a divide like this, you pick the right path. It can be quite lucrative, and that doesn't necessarily mean financially. Like, I'm doing this because I highly value time, and This is the first time in my life I've come across a tool that unlocks time. And
so if you're on the side of this is a great opportunity, you got a big wave coming.
Yes.
If you're on the side of this is just a fad, you might get hit by a tsunami.
Yeah, and the time invested today will I'm just building off of what you said, and it's true. The time you invest today in understanding this, whatever industry, you could be wanting to start a nursery growing plants, right? But if you spend time investing in this and understanding it now, that will multiply your time exponentially in the future. Right now is the moment.
All right, that's a great way to end.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Adventures in CRE audio series. For show notes and additional resources, head over to www.adventuresincre.com/audio series.